Welcome back to the show, and
it's a little past 7, at 7:05 actually, and we have our two guests just as we promised. You know, the thing about leading a professional life is that you sometimes can't do what you want. You don't have, like, it's just you and your family life, if you're married, if you're in a relationship, if you're committed, but then after that you can't pursue your passions and your interests, and it's very difficult. But today, we on the studio, we have two individuals who have compiled this book. They have about wildlife and about bird life and all of that. And these two individuals are people who pursue their passions and have created something of their own, harvesting their passions. And this is Mr. Isuru Gunasekara, who is the head of sustainability risk and at John Keells, and Somanath Fernando, who is representing John Keells as a lawyer. And they have compiled this book called Sanctuary, which is basically about unseen bird life and wildlife in the country. Good morning to you, and welcome to the studio.
Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
And tell us
so
about
Sharon, why don't
the
you
book.
take the reins?
Tell us about the book.
Well, this book is, first the name Sanctuary, what it means and what it connotes is the fact that in Sri Lanka you have protected areas. For example, like Yala and Vilpattu, they are protected. But most of the pictures in this book are taken from areas which are not protected, which are also sanctuaries for the animals that live in that area. So this brings kind of a lot of awareness to those areas, and that's one of the main themes that we want to bring to someone who goes through this book.
Right, and so we're speaking about sanctuaries. Have you covered all the sanctuaries in Sri Lanka? What do you have to say about that? Because I do understand, as for the Sri Lanka Tourism Board, we have protective sites where we look after these sanctuaries, and it's one of those precious things that we want to take forward, like looking after the environment, etc. But the current stability, it's quite risky that we see people just going and destroying places, and sometimes not showing enough love to the sanctuaries itself. How do you see it?
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a concern at the moment, and you see what's happening in Yala at the moment with all these argument about how many jeeps go in and stuff. But there's also proactiveness involved. For example, in Mannar, there was this area where this very rare bird, which was thought to be extinct in Sri Lanka, was found. After people lobbied the government, they made that area a protected area, so that area is now protected. So there is, even though there are people who say nothing is happening, things do happen if the correct channels are tapped.
So there's wildlife beyond the usual areas.
Absolutely.
That's why untapped
Absolutely.
potential.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
So one of the things that we want to, like Somanath said, what we want to promote is the fact that a lot of the animals that we have photographed, they consider the areas that they live in to be their own sanctuaries. They consider it a safe place. Sanctuary means a safe place by its original meaning, but they are blissfully unaware of our classifications of what a sanctuary should be. So we want to sort of bring awareness to that and say that this book would not have been possible had it not been for these little areas that are not protected.
Interesting when you put it like that. Yes. I mean, when you think of a sanctuary, you think about Kumana, you think about Bundala and all of those areas which the government have, declared a protected reserve or protected area. But then again, when you really think about it, it's their habitat, right? Exactly. It should be from their perspective.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Right.
So you guys took the photographs, and tell us your experience of how many hours you all stayed there, how long was it, how easy was it? Because
how adventurous was it?
Yeah.
It's a culmination of about 8 years and thousands of hours spent out there. And especially taking photographs of birds is a lot more difficult, but because they're very quick, you got to be in the right place at the right time. So what we do is we try to figure out where, try to understand their behavior, try to figure out where they might perch, where they might be, and set ourselves up. Very often we, camouflage ourselves, in hides, etc., and wait for the subjects to show up exactly where we want, because we want the particular background, the light coming from a particular place. So it's a long road, and many times it's also actually unfruitful, but that's a challenge.
What were the sanctuaries that you guys covered?
We probably covered all of the sanctuaries in Sri Lanka. Yeah,
Okay.
every single one.
Okay. And your favorite pictures were the birds, I believe?
Yep.
Yes, the birds. I quite like that old leopard shot, which you
Would I
looking at
there's
share?
a lot of
Yeah.
pictures
I think we're
on the
showing a
screen.
selection.
a selection.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say probably our favorite would be Singharaja.
Okay.
I think
Oh.
that's
Yeah.
kind of our go-to place.
Go-to place.
It's
Right.
our sanctuary as
So
well.
the birds are interesting.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, let's talk about the book.
The birds.
Yes. But then again, tell us your story. How did you guys meet, and then how did you?
Well, we
came out
actually
of this?
became friends about, I don't want to say how long ago,
Yeah.
a very long time ago, because we used to play tennis together. But that was a completely different interest, and then we went on our own separate ways. And about 10 years ago, we reconnected because we found this commonality, a passion
So at that
for
time, you were
wildlife.
working in John Keels, or?
No, that was before that, and it was subsequently Sobanath joined a few years ago. I've been at John Keels now for a long time. So it was actually more by chance, and we reconnected because of sort of a common interest.
Okay, so this is a culmination of years and years of hard work and all of that. It
Yes.
must have been
And you've given a-
rigorous and daunting. But how do you find the time to do all of these things? You're working and you might be...
Basically, some of these trips we've done some crazy trips. For example, we went to Horton Plains and back in a day because we didn't have the time, because we heard that there was a bird that had come there and whatever it is. So we just left at 1 in the morning, got to the park at 6, did our thing and got back home. So we squeeze in time. It's not like we have days and weeks to spend
Okay.
out in the jungle. We would love to do that, but unfortunately constraints of time, professional commitments, it's just not going to happen. So we find the time.
I like how you have described everything with a detailed story.
Yep.
The unexpected morning with an elusive owl. Do you want to share that?
Yeah, actually, this is an interesting story. I was on my way to office one morning at about 7:30, and I got a call from one of my trackers at Singharaja saying that this very rare, in fact, that's the first and the last time I saw that owl.
Oh, really?
It's probably one of the rarest birds in Sri Lanka. Was perched on a tree in a friend's garden. So I called my boss and told him that I had an emergency to attend to, and it did half a day. I don't think I explained what the emergency was. Went home, got my gear, and drove to Singharaja, and it was still there. Took the photograph, and I was back in office by lunch. So that's a sort of
That's nice.
That's exactly
Okay.
what we, I mean, that's the kind of
That's the kind of thing that
Yeah,
you
that's
do.
the kind of thing
So,
that
boss,
we
if you're watching now, you know why they're taking half day. Or how it is.
maybe I shouldn't have shared that.
yeah. on live TV.
Yeah.
always leave things out.
So we have our majestic pride, which is the elephant. How do you see the elephants in Sri Lanka?
I mean, there's a lot of stories behind protection of elephants, because one of the biggest issues is that we don't understand entirely what their migration patterns are. So there's a lot of human-elephant conflicts across the country, and that's a very well-known thing. So one of the initiatives, in fact, John Keels is involved in that, is trying to tag elephants to understand where their migratory patterns are, and to make those corridors a little bit more protected. Because the gathering in Mineria, after the gathering there are 250 300 elephants there. Nobody really knows where they disperse. So one of the things we're trying to do to understand those corridors and trying to protect them and make sure that there is less human-elephant conflict, because finally we are in their space to a great extent.
That's what maybe reminded me of that, because I mean, if you're aware of it, we can actually adjust our own migratory patterns according to that. I mean, we clear forests and we cut down areas and we go and inhabit those places, but then we have no idea about how the whole conflict between elephants and humans are basically, because we are unaware about their side of this thing. So Sharon,
Yep.
what else?
Want to talk about photography in a particular stand. Now, a lot of people have got this craze of taking wildlife shots. Just the drive, and it brings out or takes off the little stress that a person has. But then it's a lot of effort, and also compiling a book of that nature. It's got to be with the right amount of colors and much of edits and the kind of natural shots. What have you guys done mostly throughout?
Yeah, so when it comes to the sort of effort, I mean, it's a great thing that there are so many people out there. And if you go anywhere, you see so many people with huge cameras, and so I mean, it's a good thing. And I think there is a huge advent of this sort of photography and this passion that has grown over the last probably 10 years. There were a few pioneers, maybe about 10 or 12 years ago, who started really promoting photography. But there's a little bit of a difference when it goes to the sort of effort that you have to put into get the image that you want. It is not about driving across somewhere, and you do get lucky shots, but these shots have taken days to get. We have to wait the right light, the right background. Sometimes we waited for a subject to come onto a particular perch, and if the subject is just 2 feet away, we don't take the shot because we might disturb it. So we go for days without getting that shot, and finally it comes there and get the shot. So that's the sort of effort that goes in, and that's why it's difficult to sort of compile a book of this nature, and it's taken us almost 10 years.
It's not just a picture, it's just telling a story, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We've heard a lot about migrating birds, and there could be birds that we've never seen before. I'm sure you guys would know much about it.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Sri Lanka right now is the migrant season, so birds are coming in now from all over the world. There are a couple of birds in this book as well, which is the blue and white flycatcher. It was first recorded in Sri Lanka last, I think, couple of seasons ago. So that bird has never been seen before. Even if they say it's a migrant, it's a bird that it's a vagrant. It's the first time it's come. It's probably got blown by the winds and got lost and ended up in Sri Lanka. And it's strange how these migrant birds, sometimes they end up in people's gardens, because when they fly long distances, they land in Colombo in someone's garden and they take a break, and they fly to their place where they want to spend the rest of their summer.
Wow.
Yeah. A couple of birds ended up in my friend's garden down Buller's Lane here.
So I imagine that it must be a jungle there. That's why.
It's not a jungle. It's just a well wooded kind of garden.
Oh, okay.
And they come, they take a break for a couple of days, and they go back and they go to a bigger jungle for them.
Yeah, that once happened to my place also.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, there are birds like everywhere. There's not just a crane or usual thing. There was once a peacock also. I don't know where these things come from, but they do end up in a garden.
Where do you live? Okay, I know where you live. I'm just
Don't ask.
Right.
Anyway, all right.
What were the challenges that you guys faced? I'm sure there must be some interesting story, like you left your gear.
No, there was a very
monkey
interesting
took your
story.
gear.
Actually, we were in Nuwara. We were looking for the Sri Lanka whistling thrush, also called the Arenga. And it's a lovely little stream, and sheer cliffs. We were there for a couple of days.
At which part of the season was this?
This was last
January.
year.
January.
Sorry, this year, January. Yeah,
Okay.
the last birding season towards the tail end, and we got some amazing photograph of the bird. Isru had to leave early, so he didn't get the shots that he would have liked. The next day, he came to the same area and was walking around, and he suddenly heard this huge crack, and this then earth slip happened.
Huge landslide next to me.
Next to him.
Okay.
And I was the only one
He
there.
was the only one
There's
there.
nobody. If I had got buried, that would have been it. Nobody would have known where I was. It was only Somanath knew.
So you guys do travel by yourselves in most cases. You do
No,
tell.
very often we go by ourselves,
Okay.
even alone,
Okay.
and we don't tell anybody where we go. So some of the fears that we have is if we get buried somewhere, sometimes because we get into swarms and things like that, and nobody knows where we are. And if something does happen, maybe we should wear a tag or something.
With the job
something
title, I think that's the title
yeah, risk
of risk.
management. Yeah,
Yeah, sustainable risk.
That's good,
Sustainable
that's
risk. That's true.
never thought of it that way.
Yeah, something less scary
Yeah.
than not landslides, but something
Quite
funny.
But was that early
Just like
morning or
Sharon said.
how
It
there.
was early
Early
morning.
morning,
Yes.
early morning.
It was early.
All right.
Okay.
So that's
I know both of us won't do it.
Yeah, I don't.
It's not
I'm
normal.
really-
That's
Yeah,
not a
I
normal
know.
story.
I know. So that was in Norelli. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, there have been some crazy stories. I mean, adventures in the sense that there have been a lot of times when especially in Singaraja, we have to stay in one place, and staying in Singaraja in one place means a lot of leeches.
talking 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we've had
Okay,
hundreds
that
of
can
leeches
happen.
on us.
Yes.
Hundreds.
So, yeah,
Literally hundreds.
and
I
unable to
am
remove
feeling
it.
it right now.
But now we're used to it. I mean, I don't even wear shoes sometimes there. Yeah,
We just go. Take your
And-
gear and just go.
and with some winter Gino or some Siddhalep, you just
The whole leech thing, right?
Yeah, just
All right.
drop off.
Leeches. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the book, and the launch is happening tomorrow. Is it?
Launch is on Friday.
I see.
Friday evening, and we have an exhibition at the Harold Peters Gallery on Saturday and Sunday from 8 to 9 o'clock.
So that it's gonna contain like photos and pictures from the book.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have
Exclusive.
about 130 images which we've displayed, and the big book will of course be for
Okay.
sale.
Is
And
it
the images
free
are for sale?
Images are also for sale,
Cool.
and all are welcome.
Okay.
So we look forward to welcoming a lot of wildlife enthusiasts for the exhibition.
And then after that, where can the public get this book from? Is it going to be like a usual
Yes.
bookshop?
So
or
we
how is it
will
going to be?
absolutely. So we will display it at all the main bookstores. Barefoot, Vijayappa, I was going to say.
Wherever
this,
there
yeah.
are coffee table books, it will be available.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks a lot, guys, for joining us on
Thank
the
you
show,
very
and
much. It's been a
also
pleasure.
taking us through an interesting area where I know we've had wildlife enthusiasts on the show, but we haven't spoken much about birds, the flying ones now. And we're bringing on that segment. We thank you, and we hope that you take the risk and be careful with what you do, and also, enlighten Sri Lanka and take them forward.
Wonderful. Thank
Thanks
you
for
very
having
much.
us.
It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. And this is where we sign off for Thursday. It's Thanksgiving Day. That means you don't go to a person's house and eat their food. You take something and you go. That's how it's done. Sri Lanka, it doesn't happen like that. Have yourself a fantastic Thursday. Bye-bye.
All right. See you.